Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video, as the only high-profile figure to be arrested in connection with this summer's riots is released without charge, I'd like to ask why it is that not a single person who actually organised the riots has been arrested, much less charged, and why, if Keir Starmer thinks the law is already strong enough to deal with the crisis, none of the people behind it are facing justice. But first, if you'd like to be kept informed of political commentary, please hit the subscribe button. So Bernie Spofforth, who was arrested for being amongst the first to post false information about the Southport murderer, which lit the fuse on this summer's riots, has been released without charge, saying she did nothing illegal. And this may well be true. I'm not a policing or legal expert, nor was I involved in the investigation. I'm more than happy to accept that the police have released her because there is genuinely not enough evidence to charge her with a worthwhile offence. But if we accept that this is the case, the next question becomes why? She claims she did not throw false information into the Twitter sphere. She only copied it from somewhere else. And unusually for her, she says, did not check her facts. I'm not sure how unusual it is when you actually look at her content, but never mind that. We won't argue that point. But there are two obvious problems with the explanation. The first is, by her own admission, she says she normally fact checks. So isn't it a coincidence that she did not do so for something as big as this? After all, she was tweeting very soon after this thing was... It's like the murders were being reported and then all of a sudden, oh, she's thrown this name out there. I mean, it's quite an easy thing to fact check, isn't it? You just say, well, the only people who could actually have released the name of the police. Should we have a look what the police have got to say? But the second problem is that she cited the source she claims she copied the information from, and it was a Facebook post which appeared hours after her Twitter post. She made the mistake of screenshotting the post in Pacific time, making it look like it was posted before she did. Rookie error. Also, the time posted, when you convert it to UK time, or rather, had it been at UK time, sorry, if it had been at UK time rather than Pacific time, it would have been at about the same time as the attacks had been reported to the police. So it would have been far too early for anyone to have identified the alleged murderer. The police were only just arriving at the scene at this time. No way of anyone being able to say who it was. So basically, she lied about where she got her information from. Now, why would you do that if you really did just copy information from elsewhere? There are two explanations to my mind. Either she did make up the disinformation, or she genuinely did just copy it and pass it on, but from someone she didn't want to publicly implicate. Either way, dodgy as hell. And what I would say is this: her tweet was malicious and it did cause a lot of damage, yet she's released without charge, where others have been convicted. If we are charitable enough to think that this is not just because she has the influence and wealth to kick up a massive stink against the charges and the police just went like, it's more trouble than it's worth, then we have to assume that in actual fact, despite what Keir Starmer said in July, the law isn't actually strong enough to deal with this. But Spofforth, regardless of her intent in contributing to the disinformation, she's not behind the riots. And she's far from the worst of the offenders when it comes to twisting people's attitudes on a national scale. As people involved in the riots were being arrested and people were wondering why those behind the riots were not having their collars felt, I speculated, well, probably the complexity of the cases means that will take a bit longer. But it's 2 months later. The only big name to have ever been arrested has been released without charge, and there is no hint of any investigation against anyone who has been fanning the flames or, crucially, involved in the organisation of the riots. These riots and terror attacks were not spontaneous. The first one in Southport involved getting a lot of people from outside the town to come in, congregate, attempt to attack a mosque and people's homes. They were randomly kicking in people's homes. People didn't just see the news about a peaceful vigil for murder victims and decide the thing to do was to get on a train, go down there and kick people's walls in. They were prepped in advance, then given the green light to get going. Why are there no arrests of anyone involved in the logistics of that? What about those who've been spreading disinformation for years, which led to the spurious arguments used by the rioters? What about those in the media who were continuing to spread that disinformation in the media during the riots? Nothing. Justice cannot be invisible, has to be seen. What we're seeing at the moment is drunks and yobs getting thrown into prison for being stupid enough to be filmed attacking public property, which I support. No excuse. You're terrorising a local population and you're causing mass damage of property for reasons of malice. But the big names are all getting away with it. The people who might not be big names, who were instrumental in the organisation, are getting away with it. Now, I'm not going to say this is the real two-tier policing, because it's not. We know what that is. But it is arguably two-tier justice. The police cannot charge people for made-up offences. They can't just say, well, you were clearly a dickhead, so we're going to arrest you. They cannot charge people for actual offences if the evidence won't stand up in court. We get that. The picture that's starting to emerge here, however, is that the people who drove these riots are getting away with it. Or they seem to be, unless in the next month, apparently, if there are some arrests, okay. But at the moment, we're 2 months down the line, it's looking like they're getting away with it. In which case, there's nothing to stop them doing it again in the future. I don't know if we still have to give it more time, but the longer it drags on, the more I'm thinking the post-riot investigation is not cutting the head from the serpent. All the arrests and convictions really did was stop the riots from continuing. It cut off the supply of morons needed to power them. But people, particularly morons, have very short memories. Those taking part in the riots this year and surprised that they're now in prison, quite a lot of them are old enough to remember the riots in 2011, even if they didn't take part. Well, in 2011, the same thing happened. There was fast-track justice. These people were thrown into prison. They obviously forgot that. They will forget again. If there's no serious inquiry into the riots and a genuine strengthening of the law against the root causes, this will be the epitome of the sticking plaster politics that Keir Starmer has argued against. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe as well. And if you'd like to support the channel further, you can join for memberships. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'll see you later.